Last item was PTO, and Dan, you had asked us to be put on the agenda.
Yeah, the question is, this board needs to have a decisive policy of what PTO is, what it will do within the school district, and where it's going in the future. And it's been lingering and modifying and changing and floating for the last 3-4 years. Before that, PTO was very well organized. It benefited all the kids in the district, no matter if your school was the big fundraiser or not the big fundraiser. It was all by one PTO group that ran the PTO with individual peoples in each one of the schools. We had a lot of parent participation. We had a lot of teacher participation. I don't know how many nights Arlene sat at PTO meetings, right? Shirley was there, a lot of them. I don't know, Chris, sorry. I wasn't there, my wife was, so I can't say, but I know Arlene was there quite a bit. So the real question comes into is, what is best for the district, not for individual school buildings as a PTO? I mean, the PTO is intended to benefit the school district as a whole, not individual schools. And no individual school should be the only sole PTO. Our original intent and what we said was, we want a PTO advisory, a head board, that's the president, vice president, treasurer, all that at a head one, and then individual groups that have to submit their budgets to that main group. And that main group comes in here once a year and goes over it. Now, I can't say that we've seen that this year, have we?
But is it really the school board's place
It
to
sure is.
oversee?
Purpose of the
It's
PTO,
a different agency.
purpose of the PTO is enhances the school district based on the guidelines set forth by the school district. PTO is not allowed to pay anything into a school, donate anything to a school without the direct approval of the school board. PTO don't just get to come into a school and say, hey, we're going to do this. It doesn't work that way. The school board allows the PTO to come into the school district. The school board allows the PTO to have access to the records of students' names and addresses that hand out flyers in the school district. So
I guess I'd like to see something written on that, because I guess my understanding is that it's not
Well, I
the
think
school board's place regarding that.
kind of looking at it two different ways. I think we as a school board, I don't perceive to have any control over how the PTO necessarily forms itself. I think what Dan is alluding to is we have control over what they have access to, thereby we have power over them by saying they can't have access if they don't do it the way we're saying. Is that what you're trying to say, Dan?
yeah, for example,
And I agree with that.
yeah, and the problem is you'll get some parents that may not have any older children at all and have no idea of what other clubs, organizations in the community do. And there's a lot of groups that already have set sales. You have the FFA doing fruit sale every year. Well, all of a sudden, if, let's say, the Woodfield PTO wanted to come in and do a fruit sale, and the school district doesn't stop what the PTO is doing, and they start selling it, now you have all the FFA parents at high school, let's say, mad at the school district because Woodfield PTO, and of course hypothetical, but let's just say that up front, would be selling fruit. The purpose of the district is to organize the fact that they have to bring this group in. I know you don't want to hinder people because you want to have them help the school district, but at the same time you have to keep tabs on what's being done within the school and how it's affecting other realms of our school district and or our community.
But don't the PTOs work closely with each of you as principals regarding, sales or what they're doing or those things? So I would see that as maybe the stopping point versus the school board regarding.
If the PTO, our PTO went out and did something that, as Dan used as an example, I would feel I was responsible because they talked to me about it. So if I was questioned by the board, I'd have to answer. So when our PTO president or treasurer comes with an idea, those are the type of things that I discuss with them.
Yep.
Take, for example, the Culver's fundraiser. Before I approved that, I contacted the other two elementary buildings, found out they were doing it. We scheduled it far out from each other, we organized it in such a manner that we wouldn't infringe on each other's schools. So to answer John's question, yeah.
So they've been trying to take care of it on their own because the policy's not written. It's always been a kind of a discussion policy with the PTOs. And the issue comes down to is this community is small enough and the district small enough that you cannot have anybody doing whatever they want to in your school, in your schools themselves. For example, we had a discussion, I think maybe it was at the middle school. There was, somebody wanted to do a fundraiser for a particular nonprofit agency. And we said, okay, well, if it could be this, I think it was somebody's parent was part of that or something. The problem with that is now you've set precedence by anybody can come in and do a fundraiser that's a nonprofit agency if the school board's not holding the PTO to what they're doing.
They have to fill out their facility use form and everything else.
There's no such thing as facility use during the school day. You have complete control of the school. Facility use is for after school use. So when you have fundraisers going on where kids are collecting pennies and depositing because some little kid wants to go play basketball with teacher or something during school time, that's all school board. And if those funds are raised because the PTO is the one doing that, you have to have control of what's going on there. For example, Walk to School is PTO sponsored. It's done with our students during the school day. PTO has no control of that. You as a school board have now said, okay, whatever the PTO is organizing is okay with us, even though we don't know in advance or haven't approved it. We know ourselves, the administration has looked at it. But as a school district, the school board has to set those policies.
Chris, is it the school board's place to set policies regarding the PTO's functioning?
Well, it goes back to what Tom said, it's yes and no. The PTO needs to operate as a separate financial entity from the district. The board and the administrators are the gatekeeper though, as far as quantity of fundraisers, that type of thing. And the last couple of years, it seems like that's actually cleaned itself up. Because I'd say 5-6 years ago, there were several different fundraisers going on that competed with the high school, that competed with the music groups, that type of thing.
Boy Scouts, yeah.
Right. And right now, with the Walk to School Day piece, that seems to have really resolved the biggest concern about the fundraiser aspect of things. And the nice thing about it is it infringes probably a half hour at the most on the school day.
Yeah.
So, and that way it's worked out well. Getting back to something Dan said 5 minutes ago, with the overall oversight board, I don't know that particular board is functioning to the degree that it had been for the past 2 years, just because of some waning interest.
But each individual school, their PTOs have been functioning fine as far as for your.
To my knowledge, yes. I would say at the elementary level, the Fox River piece has been in flux, but there's still support trickling in the Fox River. I don't know if you want to word that differently, or.
That's right. I mean, we don't have a president, people like that, but we have mothers that are helping out, sign checks, and we still get money through the book sales, and we had to Walk to School, and we're looking at something right now. So, but I've got mothers from the elementary that help out, that have kids also in the middle school. But we don't have an active group of people, no.
Seems like their executive committee isn't really running the show anymore. Each group is sort of going off doing their own thing, where maybe we do need a policy. We need to be able to have one group that oversees everything.
Yeah.
Right now, you have this group going this way, this group going that way, and the executive committee is in charge. All someone says, you know what, we're going to take money out of the savings account, even though the executive committee doesn't know anything about it. And they sign stuff that they aren't even on the list to sign for, which is stuff that Chris and I have been involved in.
But I think we have to ask ourselves, or ask them, first of all, is that by design, one? And if it is by design, is it working? And the feedback I've gotten is that parents, individuals involved in it, like it better that it's separate from each school. Again, asking input from the principals.
I think the needs of the school or the scheduling of events in schools differentiate a little bit. I'm wondering if there's some type of, as Mr. Young said, there's a stopgap between where the principal, as administrators were one stopgap through. I mean, we can make it as simple as at our administrative meeting once a month, we bring out all the PTO proposals and we either say yay or nay and it's taken care of and we have to handle it.
I guess it's what I'm looking is that we're not trying to fix something that isn't
No,
broken.
it's.
I guess that's,
I do have to say, the last 3 years or so, it's been fantastic. I mean, they've been very accommodating. Everything that's purchased through the PTO, I have to see. So it's not like they can go out and just buy willy-nilly things. There's a whole process as far as approval, and then I hand it to the PTO. There's oversight on all the money, so there's no issue with the finances that.
Well, that's the question, is there? Because we don't actually, as a school board, have control of the finances.
I know what our finances are as the Evergreen PTO.
Yeah, no, I understand that, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's bad that you do or don't. I'm saying that as a policy, we currently have no policy written, and I don't want to sound negative on this, but let's say you're at a different school, not at this school anymore, so the PTO people have, at this school have no repertoire with a new person that's doing that school or something, that communication instantly gets lost. So the issue comes down to, right now, the school board does not know what the PTO is purchasing and or spending in our schools. And the school board is the district. So the people running the district don't know. That's the issue.
And I understand what you're saying, but that creates a situation then that we're saying here, you're either gonna tell us everything you're doing, you know, or we're gonna hold a gun to your head and not
That's
let
all
you
it's
do
called
anything
budget.
in our school.
It's called a budget. You show us where your income's coming from, what your fundraisers are, where your expenditures are. They did it for 20 years in a row. No problem at all. We had any issue. Always we had a budget.
Usually in the fall, they came in and just presented a budget. This is what we anticipate making this year. This is what we think we're going to spend it on now, so you can change. And that was it. That's what we heard from in the past.
Because the other problem is PTOs at point are people, right? People change. You're going to get people that are very good, let's say at Trailside for a while, then they're going to wean off. They're going to people at Woodfield will all come and want a real good PTO. People wane after a while, and that's the problem Darlene winds up with, is you don't have very good people moving into the middle school to run a PTO strongly, right? The problem is we need to have coherency from year after year, and if you just let them do whatever without a policy on it, that's what
I'm
happens.
not going to disagree with that, because
Yeah.
that makes perfect sense. Just to assure the board, though, the financial component, there's always more than one oversight every check that's written out. So in other words, PTO president, Ms. Smith, can't write a check out to herself. There's always oversight on checks. There's 2 people minimum, in our case 3, because Jessica, my administrative assistant, sees it as well. So there's multiple people overlooking each check that's written. But Dan, I'd have no objection at the beginning of the year, standing with my PTO president, or this Evergreen representative, and say, look, we have a budget of $12,000 this year.
Yeah, well, one thing I'd say to that is, I'm glad it's working, but I would say I think the admin needs to take a step back, is from a financial aspect. We're not really responsible for how they do, and that's what we have to, Chris has been warning about that, and so is our attorney. We have no direct control, because the problems that happened in the past, we cannot tell them how to write a check and who to write it to, and what liability and all that. What we can do is say, in order to work in our school, please submit a budget of how you're making the money and how you're spending the money. After that, they run with it, and then the principals work with them to make sure that what they submitted takes place. But the problem is we have to take an arm's length from the financial aspect, saying writing checks. We should not have anything to do with writing checks. We shouldn't even be looking at them writing checks, unless they're paying us for something that's on that budget or something.
Sounds like it's more to make sure that they're putting the money where they said it was going to go.
Exactly. 'Cause
It's more me asking them to write out checks.
Well, that's it, because they're trying to owe you money for something, so they write the checks and sign and give it to you, but you really should never
No, it's
supervise it, right?
It's a matter of a group of teachers saying, hey, could we, for example, we have a number of new kids that have been coming over the years.
Mhm.
So teachers approached me and said, how about going to PTO, and we have a welcome package for new students as they come in with a variety of items. I'll talk with the PTO person. We 99% of the time come to an agreement. She'll go out and purchase them. I'll see how much they cost, So there's give and take. But Dan, I'd have no problem standing here in August or September and saying, for the 15-16 school year, we have X amount of dollars. and then reporting at the end of the year, we've got this much money. I have no problem.
No, I think that needs to be, I really think we have a policy, on it, just to give some around kind of clarification to it.
All right, I'll draft some.
But thank you for working with them, it sounds like it's working well.
It has worked, I think, more efficiently with our individual building PTOs. Because I may not, if the PTO president was from Jim's building, I may not have that rapport with them, whereas somebody in my building, I can say, hey, when you bring your kid up to me.
And as long as everybody's following whatever guidelines become up policy-wise, and they have a budget that says what they're bringing in, how they're bringing it in, that's the important thing. You know, walk to school is great, but if somebody all of a sudden comes in, I know we had this a lot of times, parents had some kind of little niche thing, they were selling candles or whatever, and then they get angry because Susie's mom could sell through the PTO, but Jimmy's dad couldn't sell through the PTO. And I think the school board needs to say, no, this is what you have, this is how many sales you have, this is your income. You know, little tidbit things like, what are the little, I forget those
Box
things.
tops.
Box tops, which I have a whole bunch at home. About to negotiate.
They come
lots.
here.
Yeah.
Alumni.
But anyways, little things like that are incidental. Same thing with pick and save cards, incidental.
So it'll come back to us through a policy. All right.
Okay, great, thank you very much. The other important thing that we're gonna have to decide, and work with the PTO on this, because they can't seem to get through it on their own, how you divvy up the money, and the main thing, if you're not gonna have a main PTO, there's existing money in that PTO check account.
They've got bylaws.
Yes, apparently nobody's following the bylaw, so we have to kind of help people hold hands and walk through this, if we're going to dissolve that and not require that anymore. The more important thing is the PTO has a huge object hanging over their heads out there for future income when nobody in this district is going to remember it. And the question is how we maintain some resemblance of somebody that understands that. We have admin changing, we have principals changing. There is a large amount of money owed to this school district that somebody needs to watch that for future use. So the question is how we take care of that. You know, because at the point, the kids that were there and the parents that were there were taken for a lot of money. We have to make sure that we keep track of that, bring that back into school for use.
And directing that policy, Chris, can you also look at what's our responsibilities as a board and what things are we supposed to let go? All right, anything else?
Thanks.
All right. Anybody had anything else?
You know, it's my fault for, partially my fault for not noticing, but I had asked to talk about the teacher advisory panel this evening, and I didn't notice that it wasn't on the agenda. We talked about that a couple times. So I don't know if we need to add that to next month.
I don't know, is that the one that said something about handbooks or something?
Well, at the handbook one too, we have to talk about a little more. The principals had some questions on that, which I'd like to sit down with them and we can maybe talk on that.
No, talking about putting together an actual
Advisory
advisory committee
of employees,
of
not just
employees.
teachers.
And in our update, I thought there was, I'm forgetting the technology that was used from WGSD during our survey, meet and confer, that we were looking at moving forward with that.
I know at least two of the principals had a few questions on how we were going to get people on the committee for the handbook. So maybe next month we can sit down with the principals and talk to them.
Well, that's the question I would have, what exactly they're advising on. If you have a separate one for handbook and a separate one for pay and a separate one for climate, you got all these committees.
That was my point, is I don't think we need 20 different committees.
Well, then I would think we need to determine what committees are required.
Right.
Not as to whether we just need one committee, but how do we do that?
What we need.
The other one?
That'd be great.
Because then you're gonna have to solve something else in order to put them together.
Let's find out how we do it.
Something I think we need to sit down with all the principals on and get some feedback, yes. The other thing maybe next month that's been brought up as to what we're going to do with handouts and that. Do we print handouts? Do we put them on our website on what we're going to be going over?
Well, I think that's also something that'll fit right into
And
that
with what
software
your-
package,
yes.
so I think that might resolve itself.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah. Peanut, that's it. Thank you very much for all your help.
Thank you.
Get paid right on.